Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood, as we continue our talk of 1980s anthology horror movies. Up next, if y'all like an old Vincent Price acting in one room, telling these stories about an old fake town in Tennessee that I swear I've been to before, but apparently I haven't been. If you like stories about a weird dude and his sister that goes very strangely, and I got a big question to ask about what happened in that story for you, Allison. I have a specific question to ask about. If you like a dude who's like on the run and he's like getting, mixed up with voodoo. All right, voodoo magic has returned to the Retro Blood. If you like a story about a carny guy who eats glass, and then if you like a story about a bunch of kids trapping up a bunch of soldiers, then this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about from a whisper to a scream. Jay Allison, James Klein, what's happening, Allison? How's been your stay at the Old Fort, Tennessee?
Oh, well, it has been actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the movie quite a bit. I got a lot of enjoyment out of
Yeah,
this.
this Old Fort, man, they're known for their, not only are they known for their, mass murderers and, killers and, rapists and stuff like that. They also have a great, coffee shop there and some good moonshine, by the way.
At the Oldfield, Tennessee, or
Oldfield,
what is it called? Oldfield, yeah. Oldfield, Tennessee.
Yeah, Oldfield.
Yeah, apparently this whole movie was shot in Dalton, Georgia, which is not far from where you live.
Sounds about right. You know what I mean? Around here in the sticks, brother. All right.
It's just across the Georgia border from.
Just across all this crazy shit going on in this town, brother. Man, they got a lot of shit. And I actually like this movie too because I'm pretty sure me and you liked it for the same reasons, because I like it how all the stories have to do with the town, right? But it's all different generations. Every story was like a different era. And then our boy Vincent Price, who's playing some library dude, is telling this Beth girl, or Betty, what's her name? Betty or Beth? It's one of them, telling her all about, this town's been cursed, brother, for this whole time, through ages. All right? And it's
forever. Never.
And I actually thought when I was watching this movie, I was like, you know what? This would have made a pretty good TV show. You know what I mean?
You mean if each story was a separate episode?
Yeah.
With Vincent Price telling us a story about this Oldfield town where everybody's eating a murderer. Yeah, it would have been great.
They could have done 5 seasons, brother. Just imagine 5 seasons. You know what I mean? About maybe 10 episodes each. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, obviously they'd be like, man, how much shit happened in this town? But you know what? All right, I'm pretty sure they can, through the span of whenever the town was formed, to nowadays you can come up with a bunch of new stories. But this one was pretty fun. I was besides the first story, which I have a lot of questions about. I actually thought this thing was pretty
I don't know if I have any answers for you, but
I just want to know how a certain something actually happens. Okay, I was getting a lot of we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get to it.
But before I go on to this, I just want to let you guys know, join us on the Facebook. I got to start promoting this shit better. You know what I mean? I got to be like a promoter on here. Join the Facebook, everybody, where we drop all the new episodes, the Instagram where we talk about the episodes. I give the YouTube some love. You can find all the episodes on there. They're all in audio version, but pretty soon me and Allison, we're thinking about doing some audio so y'all can see our lovely faces.
You mean some video.
So, but when we do these videos, obviously we'll put it on YouTube. But check us out, everybody. Support us at the Retro Blood. If y'all have any suggestions that you want us to review or talk about, send it to the email, retroblood69@gmail.com. Support the show, man. We're here for all you old school horror fans, brother. You know what I mean? And your wrestling fans and metal fans. But let's get into the history segment, because we have a pretty cool stuff to talk about. So this movie came out September 4th, 1987. All right, so we're actually in one of my favorite years of the 80s, 1987. A lot of crazy shit's happening around this time. And I was actually surprised about something that actually happened on here too. So let's talk a little bit about the pro wrestling. So if you remember, last week we did the Fright House. All right, God, what a wild movie that was. And I gotta correct. So that movie was like, we talked about obviously, and that movie was a little confusing. You know what I mean? So, and I got to shout out a mistake I did on the show. I kept calling the two-timer, the guy who's banging two chicks, Gary, who got killed. Remember, he got killed studying in a basement for some reason. He got killed by a flashlight. I kept calling him Carl. All right. So that was my all right. Yeah. So my bad. So the problem was we had Carl. He was in the beginning. He was in the other story. So that's why I kept fucking it up. And I've been watching. I'm watching Walking Dead. Yeah. So it happens. But yeah, I just want to fix that from last week, everybody. I know. Sorry, my bad. I knew his name was Gary. All right, the two-timer. But something we also talked about too, which we talked about early on, is Allison. So I don't know if you noticed or not, and I was actually kind of surprised about this. This has to do with the pro wrestling. So, did you know that the Macho Man Randy Savage actually won the King of the Ring twice?
No, I did not know that. Was one of them in 1987?
Yes. And it actually was held on this date that From a Whisper to a Scream came out and got released September 4th, 1987. It was at the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. So how the King of the Ring used to be, everybody out here, okay, is it actually was a non-televised house show gimmick for Rhode Island, for the New York market.
Weird.
All right. So it was starting off like that, and then eventually they started to make it a little bit more, they started to make it into, more of an event, and then obviously they make it to the pay-per-view in the 90s. But that's how it started off at first. It was just a tournament, and this particular tournament in 1987 was actually won by Randy Savage, and this is before he became the Macho King. Because I believe he won that one in 1989 by when we talked about it, from him defeating Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So, but yeah, that's how the King of the Ring tournament was, at the beginning, which was pretty interesting. So let me read you a little bit of this on here. So the King of the Ring tournament was the annual single elimination tournament that was established by the WWE in 1985, with the winner being crowned the King of the Ring. The 1987 tournament was the third King of the Ring tournament, and it obviously was held, like I said, on Providence, Rhode Island, and it was a special non-televised show. Okay, so in this particular one, Randy Savage, he actually defeated, because he was like a babyface at this particular time, King Kong Bundy.
Nice.
To win the tournament, brother. But check out this tournament, man. Like, if you were in Providence, Rhode Island for this one-night tournament, this is who you get to see. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So the first match, you had Haku versus Brutus the Beefcake. All right. A little bit of a beef match there.
I'm assuming Haku won that.
Yes, Haku won that. You got it.
Okay.
And he fought the winner of Rick Martel versus Dan Spivey. All right.
I'm going to go with Dan Spivey on that one.
Nope. Rick Martel won, brother.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So then the other bracket had King Kong Bundy versus One Man Gang. And obviously, King Kong Bundy won.
King Kong Bundy won that, yeah.
Then we have Special Delivery Jones versus Sika. All right. And Special Delivery Jones won that. And when we had the second round with that particular bracket, Haku and Rick Martel fought to a draw. So King Kong Bundy got a bye to the finals, brother. All right. Lucky man.
Okay.
Well, actually, King Kong Bundy, he pinned, Special Delivery Jones, and then he got a bye to the actual finals because he didn't need to face the winner of Haku or nothing like that. So then our next bracket had Tino Santana versus Dangerous Danny Davis. And who do you think won that one?
Wait, it's Danny Davis and who else was in it?
Tito Santana.
Tito Santana. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go with Tito Santana.
You are wrong, brother. Mr. Dangerous Danny Davis over here, channeling his power, his voodoo power, like he did in our second story, and he won the match. All right. So then we have Junkyard Dog versus Tama. And
versus who?
Tama? I never heard of this person. Tama?
I don't know. I'm guessing Junkyard Dog won that.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
So then we have Jim Brunzil versus Ron Bass, brother. Ron Bass has returned to the Retro Blood. And he
Did Ron Bass win?
Nope, he lost, brother.
Oh, boo.
Come on now. And then, of course, we had Randy Savage versus Nikita Koloff. And, of course, Randy Savage won his match. So in the Dangerous Danny Davis versus the Junkyard Dog, Dangerous Danny Davis won his match. And, of course, Randy Savage won Jim Brunzil. Then, of course, we had Randy Savage beat Dangerous Danny. And then he would go on to defeat King Kong Bundy in about 13 minutes to win the 1987 King of the Ring crown. So, yeah, I mean, pretty interesting to, like, you know, and like, this wasn't even televised. Like, I'm pretty sure they talked about a little bit about it on their show, but they didn't really, like, publicize, you know, who was the King of the Ring or whatever, you know, during, you know, that particular, you know, year. Like, it wasn't as big. Like, you know how Owen Hart, like, they didn't, to me, I don't think they actually had somebody really portrayed the King gimmick until like until Harley Race won, because remember he was like King Harley Race for a while, you know. Yeah,
but I mean that would have been a pretty amazing live show to go to.
Yeah,
that wasn't televised or recorded or anything. I mean that would have been awesome. You know, they wouldn't never have anything like that today.
Yeah,
they probably wouldn't even have that on pay-per-view today.
Well, yeah, you're right. Cause like nowadays we'd have like
2 tournament matches and then we'd have 6 weeks leading into the.
Yes. But we also would have qualify matches to get into the tournament matches.
Oh yeah.
So we have that too. And like, it makes sense that, Randy Savage won this because he was coming off that hot WrestleMania 3 match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So that makes sense that he would be, one of the top stars around this particular time. So it's actually, you know, it's pretty cool that they're, you know, it's really interesting because I can't recall, like, who else has won the King of the Ring tournament twice. I think he might be like the only guy in history that's done it.
That's ever won it twice?
Yeah.
I mean, that I can think of, yes, but I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's the only one to ever actually win the tournament twice. Like, I the only person I can think of that might have done it twice is Bret Hart. So, but that's the only 2 I can think of off the top of my head. So, but yeah, pretty cool stuff. Like, we actually got to see a King of the Ring Macho Man, all right, before he turned into the Macho King. So, pretty interesting stuff there. So let's talk about a little bit about what's going on in the metal music around this particular time.
Yeah, this was really interesting. What you found this?
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting. So I wasn't familiar with this particular band, but they're still going on nowadays, and apparently they're pretty popular, especially in like Dutch and, you know, overseas. And you said you're a fan of them too, Arion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like I guess they're like a version of power metal, but it's like that. Like, I call it journey metal because it's like taking you on like a journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like power metal. It's like prog metal kind of.
Yeah.
It's very proggy sounding. You know, like Yes, or bands like that, but it's metal. But they're kind of like, they're not really a band. They're just run by like one guy.
Ah, gotcha.
He's like a songwriter and like he sings some, he plays guitar. and he produces all the songs and writes all the songs. And then like he'll get like different singers. Like usually that songs are like, it's a concept album and it'll be like different songs tell a story. So he'll get different people to sing on it. Like he's had the girl that sings in Nightwish sing on one of his albums. The one that I have and like is called Universal Migrator Part 1, The Dream Sequencer. I really like that album a lot. And both Universal Migrator albums are really good. But this is all more recent stuff. So I'm guessing he was doing something before he was in Arion.
Yes. And the guy we're talking about, his name is Anthony LaCesson, something like that. And he was during September,
something like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. His last name. Yeah. I ain't the best with the last names, but it's Anthony LaCesson. Before he was progging it out to some journey metal music with some storytelling, like book telling stuff, he was in an 80s hair metal band. Okay.
He was.
Called Vengeance. All right. And he was actually in Vengeance for a long time. Okay. So basically, like this guy, Anthony, he started his career in 1980. Okay. Has a guitarist and backing vocals for this Dutch band called Bonden. All right. And his gimmick name was Iron Anthony. Okay. But then after 4 years, this is when he joined the band Vengeance. Okay. And Vengeance is pretty much like a, kind of like what you think. You know what I mean? They're kind of like a, like I said, like a hair thrash band. No, well, I would say thrash. They're like more like a hair, like rock band.
I would say they're like a heavy hair band. Like
yes.
like it's not like it's definitely, you can definitely tell it came out in 1987.
Yes.
But it still has like, it's still kind of heavy and it has good guitar solos and I'm guessing he's not singing on this. I think they had a different singer.
Yeah, they have a different singer. Yes. They actually had a couple of different guitarists too. So the Vengeance band is actually still going on nowadays. Okay. Which is,
he's just not in it. I guess.
Yeah. He's not in it. But he did the, Anthony, he did the guitars for them, and he did it from 1984 to about 1992. And then in 1992, that's when he went with this whole prog band because, I guess what happened was, around the 90s or 91, he wanted to go to that more of a prog direction with the band. And they're like, nah, brother, we're going to keep doing our metal stuff. And he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do my own shit. Okay.
Yeah, because hair metal will never die.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So he switched over to doing his prog stuff. He's also in this band called Space Metal. They're called Star One. They have this album called Space Metal that's really good. Yeah. As a side note.
So the album we're talking about actually got released on this day of this movie, September 4th, 1984, and it was their Take It or Leave It. Okay?
Yes.
And this album was very interesting because it has like a poker theme. like most of the album is all it's all has to do like this poker gimmick. Of like to me, I guess the whole album was supposed to sound like you like having a good rock and roll time in Vegas. All right.
All right. Okay. All right. Sure.
Because you have the title track "Take It or Leave It" that has like a little intro, like sounds like people are like playing poker and shit.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and then we have "Rock and Roll Shower, Brother."
Yes.
Is that like the same shower we were seeing in the first? Okay, we'll get there.
I don't think so. That shower was not very rock and roll at all.
Take Me to the Limit. All right.
Rock and roll shower.
Women in the world. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ain't gotta take you home. Well, yeah, of course you don't, brother. I gotta take her to the bar. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean they sound pretty good. I was actually pretty entertained. Like I do. I've always been a fan myself of like foreign bands. I think the sound of foreign bands is just like a different style. Like I feel like they use more of the instruments, if that makes any kind of sense. Like I feel like they experiment more with like different sounds than like your normal like American bands usually do. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think that their music is more interesting, and it's more there's more to it, I guess. It's more, not even necessarily more advanced, but it's more adventurous.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being the same old thing all the time.
Yeah. But it's pretty interesting. Cause like this vintage band, like they weren't like, they weren't like, a Metallica or nothing, but they actually were a pretty big band. And it's pretty interesting that this Anthony guy went from, playing that style of music to doing something completely different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and being successful at it. So, kudos to him, for totally, doing the different style of music than he was doing, that he was comfortable with for like almost like, 12 years, and then transferring into like a completely different style. But, that just shows that, this guy knows what he was doing.
Yep. Plus, he probably left something that was making him a ton of money to do something that may or may not pay off.
Yeah.
So that's always a big risk when you do that in music, especially.
That is true, man. But that's pretty cool, though. I shout out to this guy. You know what I mean? So everybody check it out. Aaron. Did I say that right? Arion?
I think it's Arion.
Arion, yes.
I mean, I could be wrong. I've never heard anybody say it, but I think it's Arion. But yeah, check out Arion, Universal Migrator, and then check out Vengeance, Rock and Roll Shower, because that's fantastic.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Shower, brother. Come on now. Well, maybe we'll play that at the end. That sounds like a good one.
We're going to play Rock and Roll Shower at the end. Like sometimes you can just tell that like some of these people don't really speak, English as their first language when they write some of this stuff.
Like when I picture a Rock and Roll Shower in the 80s, I mean, that just has to be like sweat, cocaine, beer. Like what else do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
It was everything our boy Jess from the Second Story loves. He probably loves those Rock and Roll Showers. But let's get into who booked this shit, brother. This Whisper from a Scream actually has a pretty interesting background in this movie.
I thought so.
So this movie actually was directed by a really pretty good director. Fucking Jeff Burr. He's back, brother. Jeff Burr. So we last time we talked about him, we talked about well, actually I don't know if we have talked about him. I thought we did, but no, he has done movies I've seen, but we haven't talked about him. Basically,
he does the sequels.
Yeah, he's like the sequel guy,
or the second sequels. Yeah, and he's from Dalton, Georgia, so he's from the town this movie was filmed in.
Yeah, because he did the one I was thinking of him from is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Yep.
All right, which I have done in like a previous podcast before. That's a really interesting movie. He's done some Puppet Masters. He did Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings.
Blood Wings.
All right. Night of the Scarecrow.
He did Stepfather 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did a different Night of the Scarecrow, not the one that we did.
Yeah, he did like a movie version. The one we did was a TV one. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, he's like the man of the sequels over here. All right. And actually, I thought he did pretty good, to be honest with you. I like a lot of the shots are pretty good, and so basically, this one was it was co-written and directed by Jeff Burr and starring, of course, Vincent Price was here. Okay, and so basically, the story takes place in a fictional town, Oldfield, Tennessee. Okay, but like Allison was saying, it was filmed in Georgia, which is close to where your boy over here lives in Dalton, Georgia, brother. Maybe I should go visit
Dalton, Georgia.
I wonder if I can go find that fucking I wonder if I can go find that house where those kids were hanging out at. You know what I mean? The origin.
Maybe. I mean, it could still be there. I would actually like to go out there and see if we could find some of the filming locations for this. Although a lot of them are pretty like, pretty sparse. Like some of it's just probably in the middle of a field.
Exactly. But like, I mean, it would be kind of cool. Like, I guess the only ones we can maybe find is, from the carnival story maybe, and then from like the
I'm sure
soldier kids, because the other ones are just basically done in houses.
Yeah, if the Soldier Kid story was filmed in a real if that's a real house in Dalton, Georgia, then we could probably find that if it's still there.
Yeah.
And then, you could probably find that field where they built the carnival.
Just imagine going up to like whoever lives there now. They'd be like, "Hey, we're big fans of From Whisper to Scream. Do you know what happened at your house? Yeah, all these fucking kids killed these old soldier guys, and then they burned this motherfucker's body outside for choking this little girl. That's where you live."
Yeah. Have you seen this movie?
I was like, "Fuck, all right." So a little bit about like I said, it was developed by Burr and C. Courtney Joyner and Darren Scott, all former film students. All right, and this the film was actually given a U.S. theatrical release in, like we said, September 1987, but it was under the alternative title, The Offspring,
which is weird.
Yeah, I thought that was like some sort of like new metal man or something. You know what I mean? Remember The Offspring?
Mm-hmm. I've heard of The Offspring. Yeah, they're like are they like a pop punk band?
Pop,
or something?
Pop punk style band. They did a cool song. Keep them separated.
That was Raven's entrance theme.
Yeah, exactly.
Originally,
that's how I know. So, From a Whisper Scream was okay. We talked about that. So Burr, he devised the idea of a haunted southern town in which various horror stories would take place. The four each wrote screenplays for their short film that would be replayed within the framed story, with the fictional town of Oldfield being the common denominator. Each of the stories was written with certain taboos being central to the plot. All right.
There's all kinds of taboos in this movie.
Yeah, there was a lot. I was like, shit. Especially the first one. Fuck.
Yeah.
So some of the casting's pretty interesting here. All right, so director Jeff, whose only prior film was some American Civil War drama, Divided We Fall. Because this is the second movie that he ever did. He didn't do all the Texas Chainsaw shit. That came later. That came in the 90s.
Yeah, that came later.
All right.
Right. Yeah.
And so basically, he, after doing that movie in Hollywood, he met some cast from there. All right, and through friends. And so basically, a lot of the casting here was done not traditionally. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So basically, he took some actors that were in that Civil War movie he did. I'm pretty sure those are the guys who were playing the soldiers at the end of the film. And then he took some other actors and people he just knew as friends. You know what I mean? Friends and people he knew. So there wasn't like a traditional casting process. The only person who got traditionally cast, all right, was Vincent Price. Okay, for the role of Gillian White. Okay, so this is how it happened. All right, Burr went in person to Price's house with a bottle of wine. All right, aware that Price was a wine connoisseur, and gave him the script in person. So Burr would later recall, "We came bearing gifts, and wouldn't you know, he opened the door himself when we knocked. It was a flurry of Guy. Mr. Price, we're fans of your work, and we wrote this script, and he actually invited us inside. He had every reason to ignore us, and even if it was on a polite level, he could have said, 'Okay, boys, contact my agent,' but he was just so gracious. He invited us in, sat and talked with us for about 15 minutes, took the script, and that's how it all started." So they just went up to his door, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then in different sections, he says that he regretted he wouldn't have taken the movie had he known what it was like.
Yeah,
but then later on, he says that seeing some of the footage from the movies has made him take the roles.
Well, so maybe we just didn't. Maybe we just didn't show him the Katie Vick section.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe he just didn't see the the zombie baby scene.
I'll explain what the Katie Vick is later to all you non-wrestling fans out there, or you can Google it.
Yeah.
So Price.
I guess you can Google it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
So Price, who at this point in his career was reluctant to do more horror movies, later he expressed regret, like they were saying, after taking the role in a letter to German actor and puppeteer Gerd Fullen, I don't even know how to say his name, claiming his agent had misinterpreted the film to him, all right? Or misrepresented the film to him. Nonetheless, Blur recalls Price as professional, gracious, and accommodating, praising his performance and his professional on set, despite Burr's suspicion that From a Whisper to a Scream was the lowest budget film Price has ever made as a professional. And probably fucking was.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made some pretty low budget movies before.
The film became Price's last horror role, though he would later play a villain in the zombie-themed action comedy Dead Heat. So From a Whisper to a Scream was filmed between 1985 and 1986. During the shooting stage, Vincent Price's scenes for the framing story were the last to be filmed. Like you were saying earlier, seeing footage from the finished segment helped convince Price to take the role. So, they probably showed him like the voodoo guy and the carnival shit. You know what I mean? They might have left out the kids, the kids in the zombie baby from Katie Vick.
Yeah, possibly.
So the film was written and shot under the title From a Whisper to a Scream, but its American distributor, Movie Store Entertainment, released it theatrically under the alternative title The Offspring. So it's pretty interesting how like they didn't keep the maybe I wonder why they changed it back, but they don't really say. But we've seen that happen a lot with these horror movies.
Yeah. Well, like most of the time when somebody like Shout Factory like this movie picks it up, they'll change it back to the title that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's correct. You got it. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, I mean that makes sense because they did the same thing with Blood Rage as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And a couple other movies. So, but yeah, I mean this one actually, like I was saying before at the beginning, like I think this movie, I think this one had a lot of potential to it. You know what I mean? I actually very enjoyed it. I liked most of the stories. I like I said, I thought this could be a pretty good like TV show, even nowadays. You know what I mean? It has a pretty good idea. Like it's like this old like town that just has like, every time you move there or somebody comes by there and stuff, like bad things just happen to people in this town. And so you got like endless stories about like weird taboo, doesn't have to always be taboo stories. It could just be some creepy stories and stuff. But yeah, I actually thought it was like a pretty good like creative idea that they had here.
Yes.
But Allison, we'll talk about it. And of course, like we've been doing this whole month, we will give our top favorite stories at the end of the review. But if you're ready, I'm ready, Allison. Let's get into From a Whisper to a Scream.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Oldfield. Oldfield has a long history of violence and murder.
It's as though the very foundation of this place was human suffering.
I'm too old for nightmares.
One thing I've learned, my dear, is that one is never too old for nightmares.
Here in a small American town, the horrors of the past have come alive in the present. From the grave to the swamp. From the carnival.
Oh my God, what's happening to me?
To the fields. From a whisper to a scream. Vincent Price, Susan Terrell, Cameron Mitchell, Rosalind Cash, Clu Gulager. The eyes of Oldfield are upon them.
How do you stay away from it?
How do you know that I did?
From a whisper to a scream.
All right. So we start off with we start off like almost every 80s movie should start off with the girl in the shower.
Yeah. This when this started, I was like, is this the right movie? Because this is not at all what I expected how this movie to start. But here we are.
I was ready for it. I was like, all right, we got a girl in the shower. We're just going right into it. You know, usually the girl in the shower is like, you know, like what, halfway into the movie? Not this one, brother. We're just right in there. All right, so she gets on out, puts on like a white dress. We hear in the background some dude in like a outfit saying, "My sweet Catherine." They slow dance and everything. Then we transport back into the what do you call this? The injection room. You know?
The injection room?
Yeah.
Oh, like yeah.
So, you know the room where when you're getting the lethal injection into you.
Yeah, there's a execution chamber.
It's really called the execution chamber, though? Like that's still nowadays?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I don't know, man. I'm sure.
Okay, the death chamber.
I don't think it's called the injection room. If I had to guess. I don't think that's what it's called.
Well, that's okay. So listen, like I'm not an expert when it comes to producing a segment for lethal injection, but every time I've seen one on TV, I'm pretty sure like people are just not in the rooms, like all these reporters and whoever is just like there staring at the person.
That was ridiculous. Like I'm pretty sure that Jeff Burr has never seen anything
because
like this,
every time I've seen it, right, they're in like a separate room looking through like a window or some shit.
Yeah, they're like in a chamber.
Yeah,
like in it, like they're like walled off, and there's people outside, but not here. They're just standing around the table. And I'm also pretty sure they use some kind of machine even in the 80s to do it. I don't think they just have a guy in a lab coat that just sticks a needle into the little IV.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. That's not how it works.
In Oldfield, brother, we do things different. All right, we have these reporters stick a tape in your face, and they actually physically get to see you die. All right.
Yeah.
So she's beaten to death by the state of Tennessee by lethal injection. All right. So she dies. It takes her for a little bit to die, and this is when we figured out. We see a sign that we're in the Oldfield, Tennessee. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this one blonde lady who at first I thought I was like, it's not the girl that just died, but it was a different girl. Even though they looked almost exactly alike.
They do look a lot alike.
And she's there. And I believe her name is, what's her name? Beth? Yeah, Beth. So Beth's there. And she goes into this big house and stuff, and it's a library, and this is where we see our boy Vincent Price, who is played by Mr. White. And he's like, "Hey, lady, get out of here. The library's closed and stuff." And she's like, No. Like, I'm not here for, library stuff. I'm here to talk to you and stuff. I'm actually a reporter, and I'm here to talk about your niece. All right, Catherine. And he's all like, I'm pretty sure I've talked to all the reporters around this town. I probably even talked to you before. She's like, "No, I don't think so. And I just want to know the true story about what happened to your niece." He's like, "Well, she might be dead, but that's not going to fix the problem." Then they start going back and forth about what the problem is going to be and everything. And he's like, the problem basically is this town. And she's like, "How is this town?" This is what Beth said. Beth said that Catherine was apparently this Catherine girl. All right, she was a murderer at 7 years old till she was put to death at 32.
Yeah, she had a long life of murder,
and I guess she just slit people's throats the whole time or something. And Vince was saying like, it wasn't her, it was the town. The town just has a rotten history, and there's just rotten stuff around this town. Okay, and he's saying it's not going to go away, because there's new children being born in Old Fort every day. I was like, damn, every day? Like, how busy is this town? All right? And I was just thinking, it's going to be so busy around here too. What's this story going to look like in like 2024? There's going to be, this old town's going to turn into one of them, new age complexes and stuff. And we're really going to have a problem.
I guess so. But yeah, Oldfield seems like a really small town to have a kid born every day.
Yes.
But maybe he's exaggerating.
Yeah, he's saying that because
apparently they're all evil.
Yes. So every kid who's born here is going to be like evil apparently now. Okay.
Except for him.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, he explains that in one of the after one of the stories of why he didn't get turned into evil.
Well, kind of he does. But okay. I have a comment about that when we get to the end of the movie, but I'll wait till we get that far to tell.
So now he pulls out a book. All right. And he's like, look at this book and look at this person. This guy's name is Stanley. Look at his eyes. It's like a painting. Like it's like an oil painting. It's like, well, fuck, that's not his real eyes. He's like, look into those eyes. There's nothing there.
Look at the eyes.
I'd have been like, brother, this ain't even a real picture. Just an oil painting. Of course there's nothing fucking there. All right, so this kind of like leads us to our first story. And boy, what a fucking first story this was. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was watching
this starts us off hot.
I could not believe my eyes. Okay, so the first story is about this guy named Stanley, okay? And the first thing we see is him walking into like some sort of like dark room, and he's calling for this girl named Grace, who's like hung up on like some rope. And he's like, oh, I should have brought you some flowers. All right. And then you can see that she's like bleeding a little bit. And then he goes right for her pussy.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? Okay, we're starting this out really hot. And then he wakes up, right? And he's like, oh, fuck, it was just a dream. And then he opens up the sheet. Then we see Grace all melted. Like something you found off Hellraiser, which is actually pretty cool. And she's like forcing his head onto her titty. And then that was a dream. I was like, damn, this guy has some dreams, man. Damn. All right. So
then he wakes up again.
Yeah, so he wakes up again and he's like, oh, fuck, that's cool. And then now we're at like some cookout. All right. And I think I got like one of my favorite lines like almost ever in a horror movie right here. If I may. So he has like this friend guy there's like a work party, right? So I'll set the mood first. So it's like a work party. They work at some factory, right? And I guess they have Stanley cooking the burgers for everybody. But Stanley, he's like infatuated with this girl named Grace that he works with. Obviously, he's having a bunch of Hellraiser dreams about her. So there's this buddy who comes up here, and the buddy notices like he's like burning the burgers, and he's looking at him. He sees him from Grace, and he's all like, "Oh yeah, you like her?" She's like, brother. She got those legs. She's like, she got those legs all the way up to the hair. You got to get 2 young men and a gorilla to tame that thing.
2 young men and a gorilla.
I was like, what? First of all, you got me. You got me with the legs all the way up to the hair line. That was a good one. And then you got a tamer with 2 young men and a gorilla. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
All right. That's a weird orgy, brother. This guy, everybody into this skit is into some freaky shit. Uh-huh.
I wish that we knew, before you continue on, I wish that we knew who wrote which story.
Yeah, it doesn't really say. Well,
I have a feeling Jeff Burr wrote the last story, but I don't know who wrote the other.
Yeah, it doesn't really say because, it was, I think the only thing I could think of, it was like all of them wrote it, because we have Courtney George, Darren Scott, Jeff Burr, and Mike Malone. They're the 4 writers, but it doesn't, like I said, on any information I found, it doesn't say who actually wrote and produced each story. So I'm guessing maybe it was like a collective, they're all working together. Maybe that's the only thing I could think of.
No, I think they wrote them separately, but I just feel like they did. I just feel like they wrote them separately. Yeah. But they just didn't credit. They just credited as 4 writers for the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so continue on.
So he gets out of there. He's drinking a Miller High Life. The Miller High Life has returned to the retro blood.
It never leaves, brother.
There's a new beer on here too, but I couldn't tell which one it was. So now Stanley's back at his house, right? And he hears like this girl up in there, and she has to have an ice bath. And apparently it's his sister. Okay.
It's his sister, yeah.
So their gimmick is Stanley and his sister, they lost their dad on Christmas. Okay? Mm-hmm. And ever since then, the sister has some sort of like disease where she gets like hot really easy. So she can't bathe her stuff. She needs help with ice baths all the time. And Stanley's like kind of forced to do it. And you can tell that he doesn't want to do it. So he gives her the whole ice bath and stuff. Then we see it's the next day, and we're at the it's Oldfield Packing Company is where they all work at. And Stanley, was trying to talk to Grace a little bit about the party, but you could tell that this Grace girl doesn't want anything to do with Stanley. She's like, she kind of like, she knows who he is because he's a coworker, but she doesn't really want to talk to him too much. And this is also too, we see another scene of Grace getting some flowers and stuff because now she has a secret admirer. Okay. So now we see Stanley's back and he's nervous because he's going to ask out Grace on a date. Okay. Oh. Because, he's one of those guys, he's kind of like a nerdy guy who doesn't really get that, he can't get hints of this girl not liking him. And obviously he is like obsessed with her because he's having those Hellraiser dreams. Right. Okay. So he calls her and
nothing will impress her more than him telling her about his Hellraiser dreams.
Well, sometimes, some women are into that, brother.
That's true. I guess you got to find the one that's into that. You got to find the one that's into
nowadays, he just would have went on the dark web, brother, and wrote Hellraiser dreams. You've been fine. Back in old Ford days, we didn't have that intranet, brother. Okay. So he had to just think of all that. So, so now he calls her up, right? And he's all like, "Hey, Grace, this is Stanley and everything." She's like, "What do you want?" She's like, we've been working together for a long time. Can we have dinner tonight?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to do that." She's like, he's like, "Well, that flowers and shit you've been getting? Yeah, that's me." And she's like, "Oh, fuck." He's like, "Well, I'm eating dinner right now." And she's like, "Okay, I'll go out to dinner with you." And he's all excited. And of course, the sister the whole time is like, "What are you doing?" It's like very needy. So he goes in there and gives her like this fucking rotten ass food. And she's like, why are you dressed up for church? He's like, "I got a date, woman." And he gets on out of there. And apparently he went to the best restaurant in Oldfield, which is called BJ's Diner.
Yes. It's the best place.
I wonder if that's still there.
I don't know.
Maybe we can go there and be like...
It'd be cool if it was.
It's like, brother, this is where Stanley and Grace ate at.
Yeah.
People would be looking at it like, what the hell are you talking about? And I would tell them, please don't, please don't Google that.
Please don't Google it.
And
the cops come and tell us we got to leave town.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, come on.
Again.
So they're eating dinner, right? And then now, Stanley is, just confessing his whole stuff to her. Like, I've always liked you and everything. And, I'm glad you came out to dinner with me. And she's basically like, "Stanley, can I have a coffee?" And then he's having his Hellraiser fantasies on her now because now he can see that her mouth is all bloody. Yeah. All right. And she's like, "This ain't going to work." So they leave. So now they're in the car driving home. And our boy Stanley is giving her, some lines saying, "Hey, my mother and me, we used to love yams." Smooth there, Stanley. All right. And then he's just saying, then he actually did go the symphony route. Where it's like, well, it's just me and my sister, and I've been taking care of her for a long time because I'm a very caring, compassionate person. You could tell Grace was kind of, at least, liking him for that and stuff. And then, of course, Stanley was all saying, like, hey, can I sing to you? He's like, "No, Stanley, you cannot sing to me." All right. And then out of nowhere, I was like, okay, this shit is about to get dark. He just stops the car and just fucking kisses on her. All right. And then she's like, "Okay, Stanley, this ain't gonna work. You're not gonna be for me. Can you please take me home?" He's like, "You don't understand. I love you and stuff." And he's kissing her again. And then you could tell it was just, I don't know if it's the way it was supposed to be shot or something, but she didn't seem like she was pushing him too much away. Maybe because she I guess her character wasn't supposed to be threatened by him. But then out of nowhere, he was so aggressive at this point. Now he's choking her and stuff. And she pretty much he chokes her to death. So it is weird how you would see it now. More nowadays, you would see the girl fight back a little bit more, scratches. Well, I guess she did kind of scratch his face in this a little bit.
Yeah, she did kind of fight back some, yeah.
But you would see more of that now. This one was just a little bit it was a little weird. This whole segment was weird. So now he he realizes he just killed Grace. All right.
Uh-oh.
And now he starts singing the song he was going to sing to her, but he's crying. All right. And so now he just leaves her body on the fucking road. All right. So now, we're back the next morning, and I guess the boss of the factory is like, "Hey guys, Grace died yesterday. Some guy like left her on the top of the road. The funeral is going to be here and there. I'll see you later. Clock in." I was like, "Damn, okay." And then Stanley's friend, that dude with the legs joke, was like, "Man, I really like that Grace. I was going to ask her out. What do you think, Stanley?" And Stanley's like super nervous. He's like smoking a cigarette and everything with a scratch on his face. And nobody suspects Stanley because, you know, the way he is and stuff. Even when he had the scratch on his face. So then, I can't believe with my eyes what I just saw. I felt like I was transported back to 2004 Raw. I believe that's when the era was. So
at least Raw warned you that something was coming. When I saw this, I was just like, "Wait a minute, is this happening?"
I was like, "No way! I cannot believe. I don't think we've ever seen this before on the Retro Blood, and I could not believe it." So our boy Stan, he breaks into the funeral home.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Okay, so he breaks in there, right? And he breaks into like where they're gonna have the altar at or something. That's what they call it, right? Something.
Yep.
And he lights a bunch of candles. He pops open a champagne. That thing went fucking flying. And he's all like, he's basically delusional. I was like, "Hey, our love is strong, and I'm sorry what happened to you and stuff, but I'm gonna make everything right." After he drinks a little bit of champagne, and then his brother just goes straight Katie Vick, brother.
Yep.
Now, everybody, if you don't know what Katie Vick is, type in WWE Katie Vick, and it's this whole backstory that happened with Kane and Triple H and this dead body. And let's just say there might have been some fornicating happening.
Yeah.
And so this scene is obviously we're seeing some necrophilia over here. Okay. Now they don't show him actually, do the action with the corpse. All right. But it's implied that he did that. And that's not even the most craziest thing that's happened or that's going to happen yet. Okay.
Right. That's not even the craziest part of the story.
So we have a time jump, right? It's like 9 months later, Stanley's he's a new guy, brother. He's, he's good to go hanging out with the boys. All right. Grabs a beer. Sister now needs her ice bath. He's all pissed off. He's like, "Oh, fuck, another night ice bath." All right. And the sister now is like, this is actually threw me off too. Okay. So the sister put on some makeup and she's like, "Oh, I try to look really good for you." And I was like, "Brother, don't tell me. We just got some necrophilia. We're going to see some fucking inbreeding now." Like, what's going on with this story?
That's what I thought too. Is like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't. It's not. It's never implied before this moment that they have any kind of like sexual relationship, the brother and the sister.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why she. I mean, her reason for putting on the makeup, she wanted to look good because Stanley hasn't been home. Like she has barely been home and everything. And he's been sitting out late at nights and stuff and barely paying attention to her. So she feels like maybe if she dressed up in some makeup, he would pay attention, which, okay. And then she starts going on about the dad and how he died on Christmas because Christmas is coming up pretty soon. Stanley keeps looking at the ice pick, so we know some shit's about to happen. Okay. And she's like talking. He grabs the ice pick, stabs her in the back of the fucking head, and just starts choking her ass. I was like, "Oh, fuck." It's like choking her ass. Like, and the whole time, like, she was like covering up naked, but then now the towel's just off. So now she's like fucking fully naked. And then like the craziest scene was like when she got up and he's like choking her. She's like, "No," and stuff. I was like, "Oh man, this is getting dark. Fucking super dark." He's like chokes her again in there. I was like, damn. I was like, what am I watching? This shit gets super dark. So now he is, after he's done killing his sister now, he smokes, and now he's drinking some beer. All by himself watching. I don't even know what the fuck he was watching. It just sounded like a bunch of noise. Okay. And then I think my eyes were about to like melt off because I had no idea what like this has to be one of the most confusing, but like most of the most like what the hell am I watching movies that I like seen like story within this movie. So now we're back at Grace's grave, right? And we get a time period. So she died in September 10th, 1986. That's when she died. That's what it said on the grave. We see a hand come out of the grave. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe we're going to have a zombie Grace come and get this guy. You know what I mean?
Not quite.
Something like we see in like Creepshow and stuff. But no, not really.
No.
So Stanley's there. He hears a noise. He thinks it's his dead sister who's like laying in the fucking bathtub, but it's not. He hears like all this crashing. So he goes to the kitchen door. He sees all the floor is wet and stuff, and there's like blood everywhere. And then we can see like a little. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's like goo all over the floor.
Yeah,
like
goo,
it's not just wet. There's like goo and stuff all over the floor.
Yeah, like that 80s glue. Goo and shit.
Yeah.
So we can kind of see like a little demon creature. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Maybe the, you know what I mean? Some spirits are coming back to get our boy, Stanley. So now he tries to like kill this demon with a knife, and then he like bites his hand. All right, and he's going up the stairs. Now he sees his sister's dead body like on the staircase now. Okay,
which I guess the little tiny baby threw this dead body down the stairs.
Yes, apparently.
And we're also supposed to believe the baby was born that day, right? Because it's been 9 months.
No. Yeah, no. He was supposed to be born. Well, hold on a second. Let's get up there first. All right,
I'm jumping the gun.
Yes.
All right.
So the sister's body's right there. Stanley climbs the stairs. He sees the monster. He freaks out. He falls off the stairs right next to his sister's dead face. And then we hear the actual creature demon thing saying, "Daddy."
Yeah.
And then it jumps on him and he freaks out, and that brings us to the other story. So it wasn't born. Well, maybe. Okay. Hold on a second. So what we're led to believe within the story is when Stanley went and did his Katie Vick necrophilia shit.
Yes.
He somehow impregnated Grace's dead body.
Yes.
And then after 9 months, which is a normal pregnancy style, I guess, cycle, then
she had a zombie baby.
She had birth to a zombie baby while dead in a grave.
Yeah, that could talk and walk.
They could talk and walk.
throw dead bodies down the steps.
Yes. So yeah. I mean, now how does all that work?
I don't know, but it was cool. I thought the baby looked awesome.
Well, yeah,
like when it's standing on that one scene where it's standing on the top of the stairs and it's like, hey, and it's like standing there. Like, that would look really cool.
So this story was a wild ride. Let's just say that, okay?
As soon as I saw this, I was like, what the hell else is going to be in this?
Bro,
movie?
right when he said daddy, I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, what the fuck? Wait a minute. And I'm just thinking like, wait, didn't he fuck that dead corpse? Wait a minute. This guy has sex with a dead corpse and he has a zombie baby now. Maybe he has like super.
Like, I would maybe this would be an awesome movie to watch with someone just to see the reaction.
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, fuck. All right, then. And then 8's not done yet. That's only the first part of it, so let's keep going.
Oh, yeah. That's only the first part.
So now Beth's like, I don't care about all those old nightmares. It's like, this story didn't bother you at all? I'd have been out of that fucking room already. It's like, all right, well, I'm done here. All right. That's all I need to know. All right. So now Mr. White's saying, well, yeah, you know about this place. We have 2 bodies buried under here. Yeah, that's whoever lived here before disposed of 2 bodies underneath this place. All right, how's that doing it for you? And then she's like, okay, I just want to know about your niece. Like, why? How does this all happen with the niece? Because Beth just thinks it's the actual niece who went insane, and she's trying to do a story about the actual niece. And then Mr. White is trying to explain, well, it's the town that drove her insane. So they constantly go back and forth with that part. He says, like, listen, it's the place that changes people and stuff. Let me tell you about a story that happened 30 years ago. All right, you ever heard of Jess? All right, this greedy guy. And it's like, oh boy, here we go, another tale. So his name is Jess Hardwink. All right, and basically we see a trailer park. All right, we have Jess sleeping in the trailer park, and his girlfriend's basically telling him she's about to leave him, and she's like, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh yeah, and then by the way, I fucking ratted you out to like these brothers. He's like, oh fuck, not them. It's like, calls her a bunch of names like bitch and everything, tries to grab his gun, but she like took the bullets and she threw them away, and then they're already there. They start shooting up the door, and then he like runs out of there, and then they eventually shoot him in the arm, and then he passes out on a boat in the swamp. All right.
Yeah, and he's also played by Terry Kaiser, who we've seen before in Friday the 13th Part 7.
Oh, there you go.
And he's also Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's.
There you go, brother. Now he's Jess over here. And this guy, like, okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, his fucking forehead with that vein, that was freaking me out.
Yeah.
I was like, who the fuck has a huge-ass vein on their forehead? Ugh. I don't know why that freaked me out. Anyway. So he gets saved, all right, by this old man, Felder. All right. So Felder basically has he gets waking. So, Allison, if you had a voodoo house, you know, with a bunch of voodoo in your house, you know what I mean? Obviously, you would have like skulls and dead babies in jars and shit. Would you have a jack-in-box in there too?
Yeah, why not, man? That's cool. Jack-in-the-boxes are cool.
Okay, maybe you got a voodoo jack-in-the-box? I have no idea. So
voodoo jack-in-the-box, yeah. And carved buffalo. Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah. So Jack-in-the-Box wakes his ass up. Apparently, Jess has been sleeping for like a couple of days because he got shot and everything, you know what I mean? And they're talking back and forth about, you know, how long this guy's lived here. He's really happy he has company. And and then you could see that this Felder guy does a lot of rituals. All right. And now they're talking about, you know, him getting back his strength. Jess, he can still barely walk any. And then they start talking about buffalo. And then Jess says, like, you know, there's no buffalo around here. And then Felder's like, what, do you want to go, you know, pick some mushrooms with me? He's like, no, not really. So now Felder leaves to go pick his mushrooms. And Jess is now looking all around this place. And eventually sees a suitcase with a gun in it. All right. And then he finds these old news articles talking about how Felder nearly drowned, but he survived. And then talk about how he was like one of the first ever freed slaves from 1939. And Jess is like, what the fuck?
So, no. So, okay. So he finds a suitcase with a bunch of different guns and a sword from a bunch of different time periods.
Yeah.
And then he finds that journal, and it says that Felder Dean, the guy that he's staying with, was a freed slave. Yeah. And then it shows him, you know, that he did different things in 1939, and what he's just realizing that he's been alive for a really long time.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So basically, we're finding out that he's pretty much like very old man. And then eventually, when Felder comes back, Jess confronts him about it. He's like, how the fuck? Actually, how old are you? All right. Mm-hmm. And I want to know, Jess basically wants to know what the secret is to eternal life, because he wants to be eternal. He wants to have that special eternal life magic for him to be rich. He wants to use it out to be rich and be greedy, basically. All right. And he basically kind of forces Felder to show him the ritual. Okay. Because, you know, Felder, he doesn't seem too much like he's kind of very like passive aggressive, or very, very passive, I'd say. Not passive.
Kind of, yeah. Like he doesn't really fight with him.
Yeah.
Or fight back, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So now it's been like 3 weeks. He's been showing this ritual, and he's like, just give me that magic water over there. Like that water bottle has something to do with it, doesn't it? Yeah. All right. And then eventually Jess knocks Felder out, and he ties him up on a boat. and he brings him out to the swamp. Felder wakes up, is all pissed off, and he's like, hey, wake up and everything. I want that magic water. All right? And then he's like, you never get it. I'm going to kill you. And then eventually Felder falls down the lake, and his feet are tied up to the rope, so he sinks to the bottom. So Just goes back to the place. He looks for the magic voodoo water. And we see Swamp Man Felder arrives. I guess he didn't die, because he can't, maybe. And he's telling, he eventually he knocks out Jess. All right. And then he ties up Jess on his, I think it was like a pentagram cross. It was some sort of ritual sign he has. He tied him up on there. And he's telling Jess, listen, so just to let you know, all right, you already can't die. All right. But I give you about 70 years, until it wears off. Because I guess somehow Jess already had them. The only thing I could think of.
No, he gave it to him to save him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Remember that they were going to kill him. The brothers were going to kill him.
Yeah.
Or did kill him, really. And then when Felder Dean found him, he gave him the voodoo water to save him, and he gave him 70 years of eternal life.
Exactly. But Jess didn't know that.
Life for 70 years.
Yeah, but he didn't know that. So he was trying to, kill Felder to get it, but he already had it this whole time. But then now Felder's like, now you're going to, now since you did all this stuff, I could tell that we can't really trust you with this power. So now I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to fuck you up and chop up your arms and burn your ass. And you're going to live, you're going to live like that for 70 years. And then he's oh, fuck. He's crying, everything, saying no. And then we get him at the hospital, and the doctor's like, I don't really know what to tell my colleagues, because this guy is he has almost no blood. He's burnt and shit. He's chopping off limbs, but his heart and his brain's working. The nurse is like, you just gotta tell him. You gotta tell him. I was like, I will lose my practice. Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's happening. Whether you like it or not, and they leave, and you can see our boy Jess is now crying because he knows he's gonna live like a burnt, chopped up victim for 70 years.
Yep. This one kind of had a moral. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it was good. Like I was saying, this particular movie with the stories, you could do a lot with it. You can have a lot of different angles. You don't have to just have surprising stuff all the time. I thought it was really good the way they really did this. So.
Yeah, you don't always have to have necrophilia.
Yeah, we don't have to go that way all the time. Come on now. So now we go back, okay, and we see Beth and Mr. White talking again, and they're doing the same thing. They're going back and forth about the history of the town now, all right. And Vincent brings up, hey, have you ever heard of the story? All right, this story actually happened in the summer of 1933. This traveling carnival, and you ever heard about this girl called was it what's her name?
Amaryllis.
Amaryllis. Yes.
Yeah.
Amaryllis Crowfield. All right. And they're talking a little bit about the carnival scene, and they're basically saying okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about some of these even with people traveling by. The story of this one was he was saying even people visiting this town can also get affected by it. That's basically was the intro to our third story here. All right. So we're in a very cool, I actually kind of like the setting of this film. It had really old school looking carny, carnival and stuff. I thought it looked really cool, the whole visual out of this with the whole old folk carnival stuff. So we see the girl Amaryllis, and she is there, and she is watching this guy named Peter, or is it Steve or something, and we basically see this guy eating glass. All right, so I think isn't that like a carnival thing though? There is somebody that can eat glass. Or am I just making that shit up?
Yeah. No, that is a real thing. But before that, though, we get a really cool little part from Angelo Rosito. He was the little person that was the carnival barker.
Yeah, that guy.
He played a lot of little person roles throughout the years, but he was actually in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I mean, that he was ancient at this point. Like, he was really quite. I think he had died like 2 or 3 years later. But I most know him as Master of the duo of Master Blaster from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah, there you go.
So see, that's another big name actor they roped into this.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
And Vincent Price.
Yeah. I mean, he was there. Like, he did pretty good. He was pretty much like the host.
Yeah.
So, that's when Amarillo, she goes in, sees the guy eating glass, and we can see the guy eats glass. He's making a whole routine out of it where he can eat this glass, he can eat razor blades, he can pretty much eat any of the stuff and it doesn't affect him. All right. And then we could see that Amaryllis and the glass guy are like seeing each other, and they're like kissing outside of the booth. And she wants to, hang out with him, but he's like, I gotta go play poker with the guys. And she's like, well, what's going on? This is not how love works here. He's like, listen,
right.
Like, if the lady sees you here, she's gonna like get all freaked out and stuff. She's like, okay, well, can you just meet me at the graveyard? And he agrees if she leaves. But during all this, we find out that Leonard saw them. Uh-oh. All right. So now all the carnival people are playing poker and stuff, and we could see the little guy that you were talking about there, and we could see No Face is there.
No Face, yeah.
All right, and I believe his name is Steven. We can see them all there.
Steven is the main guy. He's the eater. He's the guy that eats everything.
Yeah, eating the glass on there, brother.
Yeah, glass eater.
And, they're just talking a little bit. And then eventually I didn't really get her name, but I guess the count, I call her the witch. She came in there.
Yeah, played by Rosalind Cash.
Yes.
Who's also a decently famous actress, too. They got a lot of famous people for this part.
Yes.
Famous.
I guess her... what was her name?
Her name.
No, like, what's the actor's name?
Rosalind Cash.
Okay, she was the snake woman.
Yeah, she's the one that cast the curse on him.
Snake woman. Interesting. I just call her the witch because she seemed like she'd do more wake shit. So basically, she comes in there, and the whole plot with this was, she's like, y'all, I own all of your asses, basically.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I give you the power to do this stuff, and then I basically saved you. So she talks about this story with No Face, because all the people are like, they feel like they're trapped, like they don't like her, you know what I mean? They're all like trapped basically by her. And she tells the story about No Face, saying like, No Face, what happened in Greenville? I was like, Greenville? Wait a minute. It's like, what happened in Greenville? You killed your wife, and now I took you in, all right? And I saved you. All right, and then look at you. I made you. You can eat glass now, and I basically made all this stuff, and you all had to listen to me over here. All right, so that's why she kind of like basically threatens all of them, saying if anybody leaves here, you know what I mean, you have to deal with me.
Mm-hmm.
I own all of you. And she keeps doing the line like, I want it all. I want every tear shed and every blood, and what is it? No, every tear and every blood that you shed. That was her deal.
Yeah. And is it because she makes money off of them, I guess?
I guess it's like making money off them and like just like her powers that way or something. I don't know. She's like an evil snake.
I really
lady.
am not. Yeah, like right, but I'm really not sure. I'm not even sure why Amaryllis is so infatuated with this guy who eats shit for a living.
Well,
like he eats like nuts and bolts.
Well, she says
pieces of glass.
Well, so they yes, maybe. Well, I don't know. Well, we'll have to find out. So basically, they meet at the grave, right?
All right.
And
they do, yeah.
The backstory to what you were saying basically was when she first saw him at the carnival, she just fell in love with him. She just thought he was like very sweet looking, nice looking, everything. And when she started to get to know him a little bit, she basically wants to marry his ass now. Okay, she wants him to leave the carnival, come with her, and they're going to marry. And he wants to do that too, but he's like really nervous. And
but what is he going to do when he leaves the carnival? What kind of job is he going to get, like eating shit?
Well, that was kind of like his point, but she's like, "Oh, we'll figure it out. I got a baking job I can do. Don't worry about it."
This is so ridiculous. But anyway, yeah.
Sure. Oh, speaking of ridiculous, check this one out. So she started flirting with them. She's like, "It's okay. You can start touching me." And he's like, "All right." Like,
all right.
This probably cracked me up a little bit. He's like touching her, right? And you can see that he's like scratching her now. And she's all like, "Hey, Steve, I never done this before. Is it supposed to hurt like that?"
I was like, "Yeah, are you supposed to scratch the skin off of?"
It's like, wait, and he looks. He's like, "Oh shit!" There's like glass coming out of my finger, and he just runs away.
That
he's like,
that gave me the creeps right there.
And then he's all like, "Just if you love me, you gotta stay away from me." All right. And then so he goes away, and we could tell that the witch, she was the snake lady, she was doing some witch magic on him, because maybe she controls his ass. She's the one that gave him the power to be able to eat the glass and everything. And she tells him that when she gets there, it's like, "Hey, I gave you this power. I can turn it on and off like a light switch." All right. And then, he's, kind of standing up to her, and then she tortures him with the feeling of the glass, coming out of his body and stuff. And she's all like, "If you leave this place, you will feel what true pain is." And then she leaves out of there. So Amusements, she comes back. She runs into, Steve. All right. Or actually, Amusements, before she gets to Steve, she runs into Leonard. All right. And Leonard is like basically, stopping both of them from leaving. All right. Until our boy, the what was his name in here? The what was the actors for the little guy? Oh yeah. His name. Yeah, Angelo, right?
Angelo Rosito, yeah.
His name in this was Tinker.
Tinker, exactly.
Yeah. So Tinker stabs Leonard in the chest, right? And apparently, you know what Leonard's power was? His mutant carnival power? Everybody in Allison, you know what the power was?
Tell us.
He had an eyeball for a chest.
Yes. And I can still see you, he says. I can always see you.
I was like, what a lame fucking gift that is. Not only is he a stooge, but he also has like a lame power too. He has an eyeball for a chest. Like, what does that do?
Like everything in this to me, it just seemed like rejected X-Men ideas.
Well, what X-Men would eat glass?
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like no, we don't. No, we don't. For X-Men characters, we don't need the guy that eats glass, or we don't need the eyeball chest guy or the no face. We have Storm and Wolverine.
Well, they could be like the what's the ones that underground, the Murlocs?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, they could like be one of those.
Yeah, like they're like those X-Men. All right, I did like it though. Like when there's Steve was at the grave, he's like, my own special talents, I can eat glass. He's like, I'm not special at all. And then, like, he's like, I don't even know why you even like me. That's all I do is eat glass and metal and shit.
Exactly. That's my point.
So they run off, right? And they actually escape to a hotel. And they're all excited about their new life. And Steve's like, okay, we're going to get married and everything the next morning. And then, brother. All right? Because then Snake Lady starts doing her voodoo carnival witch magic. And basically, all the glass cuts open the inside of Steve. I actually thought this scene was actually pretty well done. Like pretty good gore and everything. Great. It looked fantastic. It was like I thought the actor did pretty good with his facials and everything. And I thought the blood spattering everywhere and even spattering on Amusements too looked pretty crazy. It looked like something from Hellraiser. It was pretty cool. So the next morning, Snake Lady shows up to the hotel. She starts laughing, and then we could see that a bunch of glass and spikes and stuff got spiked into Amusements. And then we cut to the carnival, and now we can see that Amusements has turned into the human pincushion. And now she's
under Snake Woman's control.
Yes, and now she's under the control of the Snake Women. So,
what a sad story.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty sad story and everything. And now Beth and Mr. Wild talking about it. She's like, she's like saying, so the Amateur girl never escape. And then Mr. Light's like, well, there's only one way to escape the old carnival, which is also obviously talking about death. It's the only way to escape it. And he's like, have you ever heard about this old story from this book that was written in blood and human skin? And I was like, no way, they're going to have the Necronomicon here. All right. It's like, no. This is about the, I guess this was the origin stories, or the origin story of the Oldfield. It was on this story number 4. All right. So we have all these old soldiers. I believe this is during the Civil War.
The Civil War, yeah.
Yes.
So these are some Union soldiers.
Yes.
And it's near the end of the war.
Yeah. So they're all walking around. They lost their unit. Pike. Pike wanted to go see the unit, go find it. But the other guy's like, we can wander around for a little bit. It's not a big deal. So they see the opposite side, the northern Earth, and they're like, they look like they're just, they're not part of a unit. They're just hanging out with their horses and stuff. And then the captain tells the troopers to start shooting on them. And then Pike sees the other ones waving a flag. Like, hey, man, they got a flag wave and stuff. And then Captain's like, well, I don't see anything. And everybody's like, yeah, we don't see nothing. So they start killing those soldiers too. And Pike's like, what the fuck? So now they found an article saying that the war has been over. So apparently it's been over for a couple months, but they had just no idea that it was over.
Which is probably common during that time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's not like they had Twitter back in the day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
no
even
cell phones to call anybody on.
Yeah, like even the newspaper probably took a little bit, especially for soldiers that are in like. This is perfectly, that the explanation of them not knowing if the war was over, like that makes sense because, like you were saying, I'm pretty sure that happened a lot. Unless one of these soldiers that actually were part of a unit. They would have to find a newspaper or something to tell them the war wasn't over. And I thought this part was pretty interesting too, because they're basically like, well, the war is over and everything, but like, doesn't mean we have to go home. I mean, like, there's mighty nothing to be going home to. So I was like, well, why don't we just stay at this place? I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of widowed women around here. We can have our pick of the litter. So that's what their idea is. And of course, Pike's like, well, screw you guys. I'm getting out of here.
I'm going home.
And the captain's like, nah. That'd be a desertion. He's like, the war's over. He's like, don't leave or I'll shoot you. And of course, Pike leaves, and then the captain shoots his ass.
Yep.
And there goes Pike. So now they're all like walking around. Now the soldiers, the remaining soldiers and stuff. And I guess they come upon like an old looking house. All right. And they eventually get captured, all right, by a couple kids. All right.
Yes. Right.
Well, the way they get it though, because the soldiers they actually got caught in a bunch of landmines, all right, and that's how they were able to get kidnapped, all right, by these kids in like some like old uniforms and stuff. And they're saying like this is going to be your guys' homes now. All right. And they're kind of confused. They're like, what the hell is this? A bunch of kids and stuff. So the kids kept saying, we're going to put you in here and you're going to meet the magistry here pretty soon. So they kind of like separate. So there's only 3 soldiers left. There's the captain and these 2 other guys. They take the captain and like the blonde haired soldier. They take him to separate rooms. But the third guy that was with them, they're saying that basically he won't survive the night. All right, I guess like the.
Well, yeah, they stabbed him. Remember?
Yeah, they stabbed him. Yeah, because he was like freaking out about the kids, so they stabbed his ass.
Yeah.
So now that we got the captain, he's all tied up, and then we could see like there's like this young girl who doesn't have an eye and her foot hurts and stuff, and she keeps like staring at the captain, saying like, "Oh, you just remind me of my dad. You look just like my dad." All right. Mm-hmm. But then the kid like kind of tells her to go away. They said like, we'll get you some food later. All right. And then, once we do, very soon you're going to meet the magistry. They keep saying that over and over.
Yeah, at this point, I kept thinking that it was very Children of the Corn like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like very like kids in control, very very Children of the Corn, basically.
Yeah,
their own version. So, and the main kid, his name is Andrew. Okay, and we can see that like they have the blonde guy tied up, and they're trying to figure out what to do with him. And they eventually, take him and knock him out and like stab his eye out. All right, because they're going to use his eye to give to the young girl who's blind. That was their idea.
Well, yeah, that was, that was like, that whole scene was like pretty shocking. Like where he's like, he tells her to take her eye patch off. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And then she takes it off and you can see like the scar. And then he like tries to put that other guy's eyeball on her face. And then the other guy's like, screaming because his eye's all cut out. Yeah, that was fucked up.
And apparently our boy Andrew, he doesn't know how to do retina surgery. So it just doesn't work.
Not well, no. Yeah, this did not work.
What was his plan? He's just going to pop it right in there?
Yep. I mean, he's a little kid. I mean, to him, that probably sounds like it works. But yeah, he's just going to pop that eyeball right in there.
Yeah.
And then she's going to be able to see again.
So
sometimes it's the thought that counts.
So here's a fucked up story or a fucked up scene. So the girl goes in to see the captain guy.
Yeah.
Right? She is just infatuated with him because she thinks that the captain, I don't know if she thinks it's his dad, but the guy reminds her a lot of her dad. Because he looks just like him. So she's all like, you just look like my dad and stuff. And now the captain's like, listen, like, if you just untie me and stuff, I have the best surgeons, okay, who could probably put that eye in properly. All right, these military surgeons, you just got to untie me. And she's like, okay.
Well, he says he can fix her foot.
Yeah, her foot too, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, if I untie you, it'll just be like it just used to be. He's like, yeah, of course it will be. He's like, okay, well, we got some horses we can get out of here and stuff on there. It's like, yeah, that'll be just fine. And this is when we get a fucked up scene where she actually unties him. All right. And he's all like, you're living in hell right now, but I'm going to take you to heaven. And he like fucking chokes her and snaps her neck. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was kind of shocking because I thought he was just going to escape.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he was just trying to convince her to like help him escape, and then maybe Andrew would kill her because she helped him escape. But then he just like kills her for apparently no reason.
Yeah, like I'm the only thing I could think of, like, obviously he was a bad dude. You know what I mean? He was an asshole.
Yeah.
He killed all those innocent soldier guys. He killed his pike guy, and he got tied up by these kids, so obviously he was pissed. Like, I could see him maybe killing, like, the kid, but the girl, I didn't really see that coming either. Like, I was like, okay, well, why? Like, she was going to help you escape. Like, why would you kill her? This is stupid.
Right.
He's probably just a rotten dude. That's where it was.
He's just a bad guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he looks out the window, and all these kids are playing, and now all these kids, these Children of the Corn kids, are now playing with that dead soldier's body, playing pin the hand on the dead soldier's body. That's all chopped up.
Yeah.
And I was like, brother, you just like killed your escape out of here. Like, you're fucked. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
So he tries to want Ray, right? But then Pike shows up. Pike's not dead. Stops him. Right? He knocks him down. He's like, Pike, we got to get out of here. You got to help me and stuff. He's like, no. He's like, I don't think so. So Pike just like stabs him. And then now we have the kids now bringing him into the ritual room. All right.
Yep. To meet the magistrate.
And Andrew's saying, like, it's your time now to meet the magistrate. So he unveils this. And I thought this scene was pretty fucked up, too. It's like some Hannibal shit.
Yeah.
Pulls off the curtain stuff. We see, like, this, like, body parts just, like, on this, like, wall thing. Mm-hmm. And the story is basically he's saying, like, we had to create this magistrate. This is the body parts of all of our parents that you big soldier guys killed. All right? And it's a symbol we made, to have them lead us and tell us stuff. Because basically what they did was, as all the kids' parents, they put different body parts from the kids' parents onto this, like, Hannibal creature thing. And that's, like, their god. That's, like, who tells them what to do and stuff.
Yeah, this shit's fucked up. Like, this whole thing's fucked up. Like, if you describe this story to someone, like, they would just look at you like you lost your fucking mind.
Yes. And other kids are saying, like, big people are always going to, have a need for killing. And I was like, kid, aren't you going to be like a grown up here? But I guess that's a story for another time. So then they take the captain guy outside and they just burn his ass alive.
Yeah. But we did forget. My favorite part of this story is when that one kid with a harmonica hits the other guy with the big bone.
Oh, yeah.
When he just like hits him in the head with the big bone. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a bone from a human.
Probably.
So then now they're saying in the background, this is how we're going to rebuild Old Fort. So the origin story of Old Fort is these kids, these ritual kids, I guess, are the ones that cursed the town or something. Because this is like the origin story. Mm-hmm. So the children of the corn, or the children of the Old Fort, or the Oldfield Tennessee house thing, with all their ritual blood magic, made the town haunted, basically. And now, Mr. White's saying, yes, these stories are like something from Lovecraft and Poe, and I'll drink to them. Hell yeah, brother, I'll drink to them too. Right.
Me too. Cheers, Poe and Lovecraft.
So White says, so now this is when White explained, like, Beth's like, okay, well, all this fucked up stuff's happened. Like, what about you? He's like, well, I never got mixed up with the town's drama. All right. She's like, but and I was like, okay, that's your excuse. You just never, would you not go outside or something? Like, do you even need to go outside? But
no, he just stays in the library forever.
But he's like, my niece did. And then now, I like my notes here. Now Beth turns heel.
Yes.
She's like,
so why would he not see this coming? Like, everyone in the town is evil. He has, for an hour and a half, he has told us this. Everyone that lives here is evil, and they all kill people, and that's why I never leave the fucking library. Even my niece has been a murderer since she was 7.
Yeah.
So why would he not think that Beth was going to be a murderer as well?
Well, it's because maybe the library was like the safe place. I have no idea. Well, then but it's weird though, because Beth is like, listen, I talked to Catherine before she got killed or whatever, and she told me all about, you and how you poisoned her mind. All right?
Right.
And then, she's basically now Beth has turned evil, and she's going to take over the reins of what Catherine did, I guess. And now she wants to thank Mr. White for poisoning Catherine's mind. Therefore, now her mind is poisoned, and she's going to thank him her own way by throwing a switchblade knife at his throat perfectly. Did you get all that?
Yes, right into his throat, and he died because she was apparently very good at throwing knives.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you turn crazy and heal. You just become really good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then he says, "Welcome to Oldfield."
Yep.
And then we end, brother.
Which sounds like it might be the beginning of a movie series that we never got.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Probably would have been a pretty good TV show, series. I kind of liked it. You know what I mean? Some crazy stories all around this old, cursed town.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild. So, but now comes the time of this show that we got to pick what stories that we like the best. Allison, do you want to go first?
This is going to be a tough one. Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. This could kind of change on a daily basis. I liked Four Soldiers the best.
Okay.
Which is the one about the Civil War people. Okay, so by the way, we never said they're called Four Soldiers,
oh, yes.
Lovecraft's Traveling Amusements, On the Run, and Stanley. All right, so I like Four Soldiers the best, which is a Civil War one. My second favorite one is On the Run, which is the one about Felder Dean and Jess Hardwick and how he has to live 70 years all chopped up. My third favorite one is Stanley. And my least favorite one, I guess, is Lovecraft's Traveling Amusements. Although I really loved all of these stories.
Yeah. Interesting. So mine is a little different. All right. So I guess with the actual like storytelling, you know, I guess the Four Soldier one definitely had the most like, you know, like Children of the Corn vibe, Hannibal, you know, like
Right.
like this. That was a very unique story, and I'll give it to them. Also, I'll give that one as my favorite actual story with it. I probably my second one has to be Stanley, just because it was like when I was watching this, I was like, "What is going on here?" This is like
I really wanted the zombie cannibal baby to be my favorite, but
yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah, like the actual like, you know, progression of the story wasn't all there. It just that this was all for like shock value. This whole story.
Yeah,
was
that
Stanley.
payoff.
The
that
payoff,
payoff
though.
really does.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I actually like the Lovecraft Traveling Amusement one. I thought that even though that one had like they didn't really like go into detail of who this voodoo queen was or nothing. But I thought it was I like the scenery, and I like anything that has to do with like old carnival stuff. I'm always like a pretty big fan of it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the On the Run, I didn't really like that one too much. I thought it was kind of boring.
Weird.
So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the picks, man. So yeah, From a Whisper to a Scream, this one was pretty fun, I would say. Pretty
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was kind of
yeah.
worried that I'd picked another Fry House when we watched this, but this is actually I was pleasantly surprised at how good this movie was.
Yeah, like this is like, you know, like when I'm thinking like horror anthology and stuff, like this one was, I actually liked it. I thought it was like, you know, it wasn't there was no comedy in it, you know, it was like pretty like crazy.
It's dark as shit.
This dark story. Yeah, this one's I think this one's like a rare gem. I'll just say. So I thought it was very well done and everything. But everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Retro Blood, and come join us next week as we enter the Twilight Zone, brother, because we are doing Twilight Zone the movie.
Yeah.
One of the most famous TV shows probably of all time. And that still holds up today, which is crazy. Even though it was filmed in like what, the fucking 60s and shit, 50s, or 70s, 50s,
long
early
time.
60s,
yeah.
And we finally come back with the movie, so we'll see how this movie, you know, compares to the rest of them. But you know, obviously, Twilight Zone's one of the most, you know, iconic storytelling of all time. So that should be pretty fun.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, on that episode, we'll tell you all about our plans for April, what we got going on the month of April, and a couple special lights out that we have coming here on the Retro Blood. But, you know, like we said before, let's play some Vengeance on here. Rock and roll shower. Bro, there's a bunch of rock and roll shower going on in this fucking movie.
You should read the lyrics to this song.
We're going to read in here or no?
Yeah. No. We're not going to read them on the air. But when the people listen to this, follow along by reading the lyrics.
Oh, I can just imagine. Fucking, you know what I mean? You know, the only person I can think of who did the most rock and roll shower in here is Jess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking cocaine.
Yeah, that guy's all about the rock and roll
beer,
shower.
voodoo magic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He had what he was supposed to be. 70, you know, live forever, get rich, but he fucked it all up by messing with some other voodoo magic guy.
Yep.
You know, we should have learned
if
from.
He'd just been a decent person, he would have been fine.
Yeah, we should have learned from Zombie to not fuck with voodoo, but apparently we haven't.
Don't fuck with voodoo. Nope.
All right. Anybody, thanks for joining us, everybody. Join us next week for the Twilight Zone and the end of our anthology horror month. J. Elson, James Klein. See y'all later.
See you guys.